Hello everyone and welcome to the Top Producer Show. So our mission is to educate, equip, and train servant leaders. Our vision is to create financially independent achievers, and our purpose is to help people grow. And right now we're going over the book, If You're Not First, You're Last by Grant Cardone. So we are going on to the next chapter, but before we do that, we need to invite some people onto here. Here we go. Once you're done with that.
Okay. Activate second sale to boost profits. We're on the book. If You're Not First, You're Last by Grant Cardone. Chapter 9, Activate second sale to boost profits. So this basically goes into one way to generate additional business is to maximize your first sales with add-ons and or second sales. Although the second sale is actually easier to get than the first. 99.99% of all salespeople, managers, and companies miss this opportunity. You can spend hours and hours and hours making first sales, but making a second sale or add-on in just a few minutes, that will be easier, generate more profits, make your buyers even more satisfied with their purchases. The problem is that most businesses and salespeople get so excited about the much needed first sale, they basically forget completely about any additional opportunities. So constantly, especially inside of direct sales, you can sign somebody up for one product, get them in, get them started, but there's never an upgrade process. There's never an upsell process. The goal is not to sell everything to everybody, no, but for the committed people, if you want them to move ahead, move faster, those that have more experience with the products, those that physically own the products, usually are the ones that sell the products. I've rarely to never found somebody who does not own selling other products. That's just the way that it works, right? So the idea is get them in on what it takes, or get the sale done on what it takes to get them in and get them started. Then it's about building a long-term relationship with them, for what's best for them, and also what their needs are and where they want to go. Obviously, if somebody wants to go extremely quickly, cat's trying to eat the flowers. If you want somebody who's going to go extremely quickly, that's able to sell all the products, doesn't it make sense that they should own all the products if that's what they're selling? Or own a best model, for instance, instead of an entry level. And I'll give you for instance, if you chose BMW, because BMW is really easy to talk about, BMW is based on, the upper line is based on numbers, right? It starts with the 300 series, then they have the 400 series, the 500 series, the 600 series, and the 700 series. For a while, they even had an 800 series. They have an upper echelon called the M class. The M class stands for motor something, I don't know. It's German, that's all I know. Bayer Munich something. I don't know why that escaped me, but it'll come to me later. But the M class, so you've got these different levels. What most people don't realize is if you own a 300 series, you're probably not the person that's going to end up selling the M class. Why? It's twice as expensive. It also goes twice as fast and has twice as much maintenance. Do you know about it? Yes, you'd have to know about it if you work there, but it's usually the guys that own the M classes are the ones that sell the M classes. Why? Because they're able to say, hey, look, I own it. And then it makes the person more comfortable buying it because they're like, oh, okay, so you know. Now I'm talking to somebody who's in the know. Now I'm talking to somebody at level, not like this. I'm talking to somebody on level ground. And people tend to forget this, they're like, well, I'm not going to spend money on, oh my God, I've already spent money and spend money all the time and spend money and spend money. I was like, that's not a person that's going to get ahead in life. Why? Mm-hmm. Because they're so worried about, oh my gosh, somebody's taking advantage of this, somebody's doing this, that they're missing the opportunity that's sitting right in front of them. So one way is to go back. How do you do that? Basically it's building rapport is part of it. No one is exempt for the inherent human relation tendency to spend additional money. Once again, the floodgates have been opened. People seem to use this second purchase to justify the earlier one. So what I've found is it's very difficult. You have to go through a lot of numbers to make the first sale, but 50% of people that you sell will buy again. Now, what's crazy is if they buy twice, it's 70% more likely that they'll buy a third time. This is the whole idea behind. If you use this in direct sales, is if you can get them to one event, it's likely that you'll get them to a second event. If you get them to a second event, it's likely you'll get them to a third event. But if your ass never does anything to get the people to the first event, you'll never have anybody in an event. That's just kind of how it works. And that's selling the system versus selling the product line. But what they found is the people who show up to the system are the ones who sell the most, because the best trained team wins. That's just the way that it works. Remember, second money is easier than first money, and these add-on sales allow you to maximize your time, energy, and effort that you've already put forth. Have an increase in your sales without increasing your customer count. So, at the beginning of the month should all be about customer and maybe sales rep acquisition, meaning you're going after new people. Once you've set the example and brought on new people, what you need to do, I've always heard this, spend the first part of your month. This is once you have a team. Spend the first part of your month basically setting the example. Spend the second part of your month mentoring those that deserve it. Now, when I say deserve it, what I mean by deserve it is the ones that are active and showing up to what's going on. If they're active and showing up to what's going on, then you want to spend time with them, teaching them what to do. If they're not showing up and or they're not active, you still want to keep in touch with them, but spending an enormous amount of time with somebody who's not doing shit will not help anything. In fact, it will actually destroy the rest of your team. There's a saying in the military, leave no man behind. Leave no man behind. It's, it makes sense for, the military. It makes sense for wartime. But it does not make sense in business, and it sure as hell doesn't make sense inside of network marketing. And it's not that we're leaving anybody behind, but certain people are not willing to go all the way to the top. Jordan's here. What's happening? Dave Robinson, what's going on? Some people are not willing to go all the way to the top. In fact, most people just get to a point where they can see around and they're like, I'm good. Most people don't want huge success. Most people are going to get this high up the platform, and that's enough for them. They're like, I'm good. John Maxwell describes this. Chance Brown, what's happening? John Maxwell describes this in his book about climbing Mount Everest, and he was talking to one of the guides that leads people up Mount Everest, and he's like, oh my gosh, that must be so exciting. You must have so many people. And he goes, actually, there's not a lot. He goes, when climbing Mount Everest, by the way, for those people who don't know, and I didn't know this prior to reading about it, it has basically two base camps. So there's base camp 1 that's like 10,000 or 13,000 feet up. Then there's base camp 2 that's just slightly beyond that, another couple thousand feet. most people get to base camp 1 and they're good. He's like, I'm talking about like most people that say they want to climb it. They get to the first base camp, and the basic theory is wow, this is really difficult. Jerry's here. What's happening, sir? I did send you over your card in Messenger. I posted it yesterday on our team site. So it was there. I tagged you in it, but I know sometimes people don't see all their tags. So I sent it to you in Messenger. So most people only get to base camp. He goes, very few of the people who get to base camp will go to second base camp, right? Why? Because, they're like, okay, I made it this far. I might as well go a little bit farther. And that's how most people are. I'd rather go a little bit farther. But there are very, very, very few people that are willing to go all the way to the top. Why? Because of their own excuses, because they look around, because they have a hangnail, because they didn't mow the yard, because they didn't, I got to rake the leaves first. I mean, people will make any fucking excuse imaginable to stay where they're at. Now, here's why. Here's really why. Your basic human instinct creates a circle around you called your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is what you are accustomed to. It's what you're used to. It's what you were brought up around. And anything beyond that circle becomes uncomfortable. And when it becomes uncomfortable, your basic human instinct says, stop. Don't go any farther. Don't venture there. Why? It's unknown. It's uncomfortable. And all of a sudden, your comfort zone, your basic human instinct, basically says, I don't give a shit about your goals and dreams. You're going to come back to where you're comfortable. I'm going to pull you back into this mediocre, average-ass circle with all the people you know. Because, man, if you go outside that circle, there's people you know who won't hang out with you. There's people. All of a sudden, all this talk, this self-talk gets to you. And you end up right back where you started. A year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later, 10 years later, 20 years. I've met people who have done this for decades. Decades, which is unfortunate. I had a mentor very early on that taught me how to get out of the comfort zone. And he's like, it's really simple. You have to have a system, and you have to track and incrementally set goals that push you outside of that comfort zone, where you make the uncomfortable comfortable. Now, there's outside the comfort zone, and then there's the freak out zone. What another group of people do is they see things in a perfect scenario, and we've got a couple people on here who are like this, because I'm like this too. So I'm completely relating with you. We see things in a perfect scenario, and I learned this from John Maxwell, and God, did it help me. John Maxwell says, I always try to set goals because I see things so clearly. He goes, the problem is I see things so clearly, I do not see any of the obstacles. I don't see any of the setbacks. I see everything in a perfect ass scenario. The problem is life is not a perfect scenario. He goes, so what I do is I take what should have taken 3 times as long, and I look at it in a perfect scenario. So for instance, if it should take 90 days, John thinks you can do it in a month. That's the way he sees it. So what he's done is he's added this principle to however long he thinks he has to double it, because he sees everything in a perfect scenario. Personality types sometimes do that. So you've got to incrementally track it. You have to have a system. If you don't have a system, you'll be right here next year at the exact same spot. Almost guaranteed, as my mentor taught me. He's like, you've seen these people. They're hard workers. They're everything. They will self-sabotage themselves. They will pull themselves. Your basic human instinct is working against your goals and dreams, which is scary. That means you are working against you, unless you figure this out and push yourself outside. This is why you see extremely talented people inside of direct sales and network marketing, inside of normal business, sports, entertainment, and you're like, that person is so talented. Why are they not getting ahead? Basic human instinct. I mean, there can be other things, right? There could be substance abuse, and there could be, relationship abuse and emotional abuse. I mean, there could be all kinds of other stuff, health reasons. But for the people who don't have that, and you're like, why are you still at that level? You're so talented. That's the reason. You are talented. The problem is your system to move forward is terrible. So that's what we got on that subject. So Grant goes on to say, activate the second sale of your business. What are 3 benefits of a second sale? Well, obviously, more money. obviously, in what I do, more protection, the ability to advance quicker in what you're doing, and you're not going to sell what you don't own. What is one thing in which you have a firm grasp in order to pull off a second sale? You have the database already, you have the time, you have the people to talk to. What are 3 things you must do before attempting a second sale? Well, first of all, you have to basically get back in touch with this person, build rapport, find out where they're at, and find out if the second sale is really the right thing for them, right? I mean, because sometimes the second sale is not the right thing. You're not just trying to push this upon people. Benny, what's happening? But you need to figure out where that person's at. You need to figure out what their true needs are and where they want to go. Where do you want to go? I want to go to the top. Well, out of our 10 products, what do you have? Well, I have one of them. Well, chances are, you just have to ask people the question, do you think you're going to make it to the top of the company with one product if we have 10? Do you actually believe that? And most people would say no, I guess I don't really believe that. Then you ask this question. What do you think you need? I'm not here to tell you what to do. It's your business. It's your life. I'm a coach, and I had somebody ask me that question. Well, Jeff, you think the minimum is going to do it? I remember when he asked me that. Do you think doing the minimum activity is really going to get you to the top? Do you think buying the minimum amount is really going to get you to the top? Do you think being irresponsible and giving the work to someone else is going to get your ass to the top? I was like, no to all those? Okay, so what do you think you need to do? It was a wake-up call. It was not a fun conversation because I was like, is he putting me down? What is he saying to me? And what he was doing is like, when somebody has that talk with you, what they're saying is I see all the potential, but your mindset's wrong. The potential's there, the mindset's wrong. You need to straighten some things out, and you can go all the way if you want to. So, what are some examples of ways you can use this activity? Well, I know in our business you have upsales. I put together the plan already. Now I'm just giving the details done of the actual awards. We're going to recognize people based on how much protection they have. That's it. How much protection they have. If you're a minimum person, here's the problem. You're not going to be able to hide in the back of the room anymore. We're going to award you the minimum award. Hey, I do the minimum. Okay. Do you think, and here's what's funny is I know what will happen already is the people who move up will be the people who move up. Mm-hmm. Why? Because commitment is that way. Whatever you do, duplicates, and whatever you don't do, duplicates. In fact, the stuff you don't do duplicates faster on your team than the stuff you do well. So that's a problem, but it's just the way that it works. So that's the way we're going to do it in our business. In real estate, you typically will never sell a home. You will never sell a home outside of the neighborhood, like the neighborhood, at the value that you live in. So if you live in a $100,000 neighborhood, you likely will never sell $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 houses. Why? Because you sell what you know. So that's what I got for this chapter. What else?
That is it. So if you guys have not yet, you want to go to the Top Producer Show Facebook page and you want to go join that page. Also go join us on YouTube and subscribe to us there. Each one of these videos is going to be uploaded to there, so that way you guys can go back and rewatch. And if there's a book that we've already gone through that you didn't get to listen in on, you guys can go back and rewatch those as well. So with that, that's what we have for you guys today, and we will see you tomorrow.